Well, welcome to Sacred Geometry of Music. Very good. I think some of you have already uh, seen this or heard this presentation before, but that's all right. There's a lot to it, so uh, it it's very good to get a little refresher. So we're going to start off with just a quote that one of my favorite physicists and creators said, which was Nicholas Tesla. And he talked about the understanding of the universe in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And he's one of the people that really has done the most to explore energy. And a lot of people don't realize it, but he understood deeply the frequency and its relationship to sound and all that is. Um, so we'll start off with light as light, sound, and color. Light being intelligence, and here we have a picture of a prism. Light is transformed into all the spectrums of color through a prism. And if you think of light as being information, light being the cosmic influx of energy that's affecting all of us, especially right now. We're about to go into a major solar eclipse and lunar eclipse as well. So light has a very strong effect and impact on consciousness. And here we have a kind of a depiction of color in terms of waves. So color is transformed into frequencies of sound through waves. And here we're becoming more and more dense with these light waves and sound waves. And as you see, there's these little figures on the bottom here. And I forgot that I was going to bring out my little Platonic solid set, but you can see them here. Um, and the Platonic solids, they're very unusual in all of mathematics. Most mathematicians are totally taken by the Platonic solids. They're polygons, regular polygons, and there's only five of them that are in the known universe, and they have a very specific set of characteristics, and nothing else really is created through all the 10,000 things in the universe, like they're created through the Platonic solids, and each one of these has a connection with the elements. So here we have at the very left, at the very bottom, we have a triangle, and then we have a square, and then we have a pentagon, and then we have an this is supposed to be an octagon, but it's actually a dodecahedron, and then we have an icosahedron. So these are the elements here. There's fire, earth, um, ether, and of course this is supposed to be water, and water and let's see, ether, fire, earth, air, water, and ether. Okay. So here are some depictions of through cinematography of sound, and these are all taken through microscopes of sound waves and particular sounds. This one is 38 hertz. Now, a hertz is a measurement of sound. 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second, and that's the way that we measure sound. So if you take a guitar string and you pluck it, and it goes out to the furthest extent and back to the center, and then back out again to the other side and back to the center. That's one frequency, or 1 hertz. That's 1 cycle per second. So a hertz is equal to 1 cycle per second. Now, this 38 hertz means that particular vibration is 38 times per second. So, a very simple definition of sacred geometry would be the science of applying mathematics to vast cosmological processes. So, um, you know, we think of mathematics as being this very, very mental construct, but really, uh, mathematics is just another name of God. it's uh, it's and I think mathematicians will probably agree with you with that statement that they can actually come closer to their creator by understanding the workings of numbers. But numbers are just let's say a representation of the cosmic, of the divine. So one of the ways that sacred geometry works is as above, so below. And there's a concept called orders of magnitude, called from simple to sacred. And orders of magnitude is a very simple concept. It goes in series of tens. In other words, uh, if something is 10 times or 100 times a number, that is one of the orders of magnitude. So 10 times would be an order of magnitude of 1, and 100 times would be an order of magnitude of 2, and 1,000 would be an order of magnitude of 3. So you just don't count the number, the zeros. So here we have Pythagoras, and he was considered one of the fathers of geometry, and he started one of the original mystery schools. And it was very difficult to get into these mystery schools because they, back in those days, which is 2,500 years ago, they really considered Pythagoras kind of a heretic. And if the powers that be knew that he was talking about the kind of things that he did, which is very cosmological, very spiritual, and really delving into the deeper mysteries, they'd have probably hung him out to dry. A lot of people went to prison, and a lot of people died because of their beliefs. So the tools of the sacred geometry, just like geometry, are really just two. There's the compass and the straight edge. And from the compass and straight edge, we create all that there is in terms of all the geometries of mathematics. And here we have two circles, and when two circles intersect like that, they create what's called the Vesica Pisces, and this is one of the most important of all the sacred geometries. And for those of you that have been studying the Lotus of Life, that is, besides the circle, one of the prime geometries that really from it so much comes forth. And here's a very old symbol, the Tibetan Om. This actually was seen by the Tibetan rishis when they would meditate, and actually tone the Om symbol. It's a symbol of 27 interlocking triangles, and modern science has played this out through cinematography. They've actually recreated the things that monks saw for thousands of years. And here again we have the Platonic solids, and again I was having a hard time remembering the elements, but here we have fire, air, earth, water, and ether. And from left to right, we have the tetrahedron, which is fire. We have the octahedron, which is air, and we have the hexahedron, which is earth, and then icosahedron, which is water, and dodecahedron, which is ether. And each one of these are distinguished by a very specific definition. So all the faces are the same size. So a face would be the flat part of it. And you'll see that fire, air, and water all have the same face, which is a triangle. And then earth has a square, and then ether has a pentagon. So there's really only three faces in the Platonic solids, which is the triangle, the square, uh, and the five-sided figure. So we have a 3, 4, and a 5, and that's pretty significant right there. So all edges are the same length. If you look at the length of the edges of the fire, it's the each one of those is all exactly the same. Same with the air, and same with earth, water, and ether. There's only one angle present for the entire shape. So with fire, we, what we're calling the angle is, if you look at the very point, that is an angle. That's 60 degrees, and also at the base, that's 60 degrees, and this base over here is 60 degrees. And all of the triangles are exactly the same, 60 degrees. So the fire, air, and water all have 60 degrees as their angle. Now, Earth, you can see that this is a right angle here, and that's 90 degrees. Right angles are always 90 degrees, and there's only one angle on that whole hexahedron. And by the way, these are called what they're called, like the hexahedron. Hex means 6, so that's 6 sides. Octahedron is 8 sides, so that's octa means 8. And the fire element, that's 4. And water, the icosahedron, that's 20 sides, and ether, that's 12 sides. Okay. And another very interesting thing is that all points touch the edge of a sphere perfectly. So any one of these figures, if you placed it inside of a sphere, like a round ball, the vertex, the points of each one of these would touch perfectly the inside of that sphere. So that's pretty unusual. So here we have there's the hexahedron, and there's the tetrahedron, and here we have the octahedron, dodecahedron, icosahedron. Okay, and we did talk about this, that the three faces of the Platonic solids are 60, 90, and the pentagon is 108. Now 108 is a very spiritual number. I should say very religious number. You can call it spiritual if you'd like. In many of the major religions, you'll see 108 in the Hebraic, in the Christian, and even in the Buddhist faiths. So these little numbers right here, this is where it gets interesting. This is where the angles of the Platonic solids and sacred geometry start becoming aural. There's an audible quality that starts happening here, and this is for me as a musician one of the most fascinating aspects of these elements. So. Looking at the triangle, we have 60 degrees. Okay, that's this basic angle, and we have 3. The sum of the 3 times 60, and that's 180. Now, I will tell you that 60 has a hertz or a sound significance. So 60 hertz is a B. It's a B2. So so whenever you play 60 hertz, you will hear this very specific B. Now, B has a range depending upon what standard of tuning you're playing in, and most people, most musicians are using the 440. A is equal to 440 hertz tuning standard. So the Platonic solids and sacred geometry goes beyond the standard of tuning that we normally play music in. So, and yet, all of these harmonies and these frequencies sound so perfectly right on. And there's something that happens in the body when you listen to these, that there's an immediate alignment with these frequencies, these sounds. So the 60 is a B, and when you multiply that by 3, which is the sum of all the angles two-dimensionally, you get 180. So that 180 is an F sharp. So in musical reference, the B and the F sharp are like cousins. They're they're called that's considered the divine interval, which is a perfect fifth. And throughout music, that's probably the most important of all the intervals. Even rock and roll players, when they play a power chord, when they jam down on their electric guitars, what you're hearing is that perfect fifth. And so they're playing sacred geometry whether they know it or not. You know, well, the very fabric of our existence is really through sound, and you don't have to know that or understand it to actually live it. And so we're living and being bathed in sacred sound whether we realize it or not. Unfortunately, it's a little bit off because of our standard of tuning, which is 440 is equal to A. It and again, the Platonic tuning is not 440. It's much closer to 432, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So the second series of numbers. So we have the sum of all three 60s is 180. That's an F sharp. So the tetrahedron. So this is the two-dimensional representation, and here's the three-dimensional representation. So we have 4. That's tetra is 4. 4 of these sides. So we multiply 180 by 4, and that gives you the higher octave of that F sharp. So this fire tetrahedron, sacred geometry, has 2 notes, B and F sharp, and that's the what's considered the divine interval. Okay, that 720 is the F sharp. It's the higher octave of the 180 F sharp. Okay, so the next one is the square, which is the two-dimensional version of the hexahedron. So we have 90 degrees, and we have 4 of those corners, and that makes it 360. Now, 90 again is F sharp, and times 4, that's the higher octave. That's 360, and that's still an F sharp. So when you multiply that by 6, which is how many sides the hexahedron has, you get this number, which is 2160. Now, I will tell you that is also a perfect fifth up from the F sharp, which is a C sharp. You can see that on a piano keyboard: F, G, A, B, C, C sharp, F sharp, C sharp. So here we have the divine interval again. We have it in the first one from B to F sharp, and now we have it from F sharp to C sharp. And so as someone that practices music, what's unveiling itself is that we're working with 2 different keys here. We have a B and we have an F sharp, and we'll get back to that a little bit later, but that's starting to kind of define some very important frequencies and ways of working with these very specific notes. Okay, so the pentagon is a five-sided figure, and the basic angle is 108. So you notice that there are five 108s, which creates the 540. Now, 540 degrees and 540 hertz is C sharp. Okay, and so this particular pentagon, which is the dodecahedron, is probably one of the most enigmatic and interesting of all the Platonic solids, because it's the least Earth based. It's energy. It's pure energy, and so if you were to put all the Platonic solids in some type of configuration, I would put earth, air, fire, water as four, and then I would put I would put the five-sided ether for in the very center, because that's the energy. It's actually beyond the four earth elements, and it's energy. So we have C sharp, and then we have this very unusual 66,480 degrees. I'll tell you what that is. It's a G sharp, but there are a number of other uh, notes in within this particular configuration, energy configuration. It makes a very unusual um, chord. It's actually A sharp, C sharp. I'm sorry. It's a A, C sharp, E, F, which is a minor sixth, and then the 6480 is the G sharp. So it's a minor sixth um, configuration. Uh, and you can really feel the energy of that particular uh, geometry. Okay, so this just kind of gives you an idea of the number of faces, the number of points, the number of edges, and this is a whole. Really, it's a kind of a lifetime study on its own, but it's fascinating only if you study the musical aspects and the sound aspects of it. And there we have it again. And down at the bottom, you'll see the sum of all of these numbers, and they get higher and higher. And some of the I'm hoping I'm going to be able to play you some of the sounds of these. I was able to get a Zoom sound before, and then it went away, and so we'll just hope that I'm able to play that for you at the end of this presentation. Okay, so let's go back to 60 again. Okay, 60 is a very unusual and very potent number. We have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 cycles of alternating current that's all around us. We find it in our electrical system. Um, Base 60 was what the Sumerians uh, used as their numeric system. So we have a base 10, and they had a base 60. So they were using this very, very high math 5,000 years ago. And this is the basic angle of the tetrahedron. If you consider that the angles of these elements equal the use of these numbers in other cultures. So the Sumerians, that that's another name for the Anunnaki, and I know everybody has a different take on who the Anunnaki were, but if whether they were friendly or whether they were friend or foe, they had a very high degree of mathematics and understanding of the nature of the universe. So 60 was one of the things that they based their mathematical system on. So here we're at the square and the hexahedron again. 90 is F sharp, okay, and 9 in numerologically is perfection. It's completion. It's in the base 10 mathematics, which is numerology. It's the highest spiritual vibration of all the numbers. And here we have, again, the dodecahedron, 12, uh, 12 sides. And the basic angle is 108. 108 feet is the diameter of Stonehenge. It's also the you remember the concept we just talked about with the orders of magnitude. So if you take the zero away here, this 108, or add a zero, um, you get the moon's radius in miles. So the radius is from the center point to the very periphery of the moon. So that's 1080. So there we have that 108 again. And again, it's you'll find this in the Vedic and the Buddhist and Christian doctrine. 144. Okay, so this is the total number of degrees in the octahedron, and this is the air element. And there's here we have the order of magnitude again, 1440. That's the number of minutes in a day. There were 144,000 chosen ones, both in the Christian and the New Age, and I'm pretty sure in some of the other religions as well. There were 144,000 days in the Mayan Baktun. So they were playing with that number too in their cosmology. So 360 degrees. That's the icosahedron. Again, the order of magnitude 3600 degrees in the icosahedron. That's the sum total of all those. So 360. There's 360 degrees in a circle. There's 360 days in the Mayan calendar, and I think this is very interesting because they actually have 13 months instead of 12. We have 365 days. What they do, 365 and a quarter days, and what they do with that extra five and a quarter is they go out and play. In Peru, they still do that. They take a week off and they do nothing but play music. I think they're pretty smart. So, and there's 3,600 seconds in an hour as well. So here we have 2160. So this is the moon's actual diameter. We did the radius of the moon before, and now the diameter is 2160 miles. So that's from one side to the other. 2160 also is an astrological age. It's the age that we're in right now is the age of Aquarius, and we just passed through the Piscean age. Both of those astrological ages are 2160 years. And 2160 degrees is the sum total of the angles in a hexahedron. So this is a block, which looks very much like a block of salt. It's the salt of the earth, and that is the earth element. So here we go. If you sum the angles of all the earth elements, fire, air, earth, and water, you come up with 7,920 miles, which is the diameter of the earth. Again, we have 2161, great month, and the musical equivalent of that is a C#7. So here we have. Let's see. Okay, so here we have the precession of the equinox. So what this is the Earth is actually tilted on its axis, and in 25,920 years, it goes through this cycle through the universe, and we call that the precession of the equinox. And it takes that long, almost 26,000 years, to make that full spin on its axis, and there's the number 25,920 years, and if you look at the dodecahedron, the totality of all these 12 times, that's 108 times 720, we end up coming up with this number 2592, which is the uh, less the zero that we were talking about before, order of magnitude. It becomes an E7. So it's a it's another musical equivalent. And there's another uh, uh, example of the precession of the equinox. So 864 is an A6. That's the sixth octave of A, and 864,000 miles is the diameter of the sun, and that's from side to side. It's also the 24 hours times 60 minutes is equal to 1440, and in 1440 times 60 seconds is 86,400 seconds. So this 864 keeps coming up in lots of different permutations and orders of magnitude, especially in relation to the sun. So here we have 6480 years, one Platonic season, and that's three astrological ages. So a season would be like spring or summer, fall, so forth. Okay, so here we have 432, and this was one of Joseph Campbell's favorite numbers, 432. He says that 432 is one of the most important numbers in the world because he kept going to all these cultures and studying and saying it repeated. So 432,000 miles is actually the radius of the sun from the center point to the peripheral, the very outer edge of the sun. And if you multiply 432 by itself, which is 432 squared, you get the speed of light. So here again we have Joseph Campbell, who's one of my favorite mythologists, says the most important mythological number in history, 432. So one of the things that we have as and anyone that studies music, they know that they will always be tuning to the standard of 440, and this is, I would say, not a given. It's something that we've done in the last 60 years or so. We've had standards of tuning where the note A was 432, and we've had it where it was 444 or other variables. So it doesn't have to be 440 hertz, but that's the one that we've kind of landed on right now. When I was a student in music, I played in the orchestra, and the concertmaster would always get up at the very beginning of a concert and play one note on his violin, and that note would be A 440. And so everyone would tune their instrument to A 440 so the whole orchestra would be in tune. That same standard of tuning could have been A 432, and in previous bygone years it was. I would say that A 440 hertz A is kind of a bastardization of where we should be. And not everybody believes that, but I do. I think 432 is much closer to these divine cosmological principles, and it's aligned with universal geometries and processes. So here we have the Fibonacci sequence, and this is just a sunflower, but you can see that there's actually two opposing, contrasting spirals going on right here. And if you look very closely at the sequence of numbers, this is called a pattern that actually spells out this divine spiral or Fibonacci sequence, uh, you'll see that how this is derived. And in a nutshell, if you add one to 0, you get 1, and then 1 to itself, 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 2 and 1 is 3. And so you get this spiraling effect that keeps on going and going and going. And you'll see the spiral in in these plants. You'll see them in hurricanes. You'll see them in spiral nebula, all throughout the universe. And this is one of the divine formulas for that Fibonacci sequence. So this is a depiction of the natural overtones, and this is a string vibrating. If you pluck a guitar string or a cello or whatever, uh, it looks like this. So uh, here we have the top of the string. Here we have the bottom of the string, and you have everywhere where it actually crosses like that. That's what's considered a node or a harmonic. And so when you play one string, you're actually getting a very rich set of frequencies, which are called overtones or harmonics. And this is the same whether you play a string or you blow a trumpet or play a flute or uh, even a drum. You hit a drum, and it has the same natural series uh, of harmonics that are generated. And these harmonics actually kind of spell out chords, and they spell out uh, the uh, the scales that we use in music. It's really pretty fascinating. So earlier on, I said, you know, these rockers will get up and do their power chords, and very often it's a big sound, but it can be only two notes. So that's those are overtones. You know, those are the perfect fifth, and we're all vibrating to these natural intervals and natural chords. And here again in the Welk shell is we have the harmonic series, but it's also embedded in other life forms of nature. Now the Chinese, this is an instrument that's probably 5,000 years old. It's the gongqin. It's a kind of an early harp, and this is a very interesting photograph because you see that there are little light markers along the edge. Well, these are all the overtones. And one of the ways that they play that is to actually create sound from the overtone. So overtones were used many thousands of years ago by the Chinese, and they understood that very well, the sacred geometry of music. And there it is again. And again here, that's the overtone series laid out on this instrument. This is one of my favorite pictures. I love harps, and this is probably one of the first harps. We have a turtle shell and a couple little sticks. It's probably antlers, and a cross piece, and these are gut strings, probably some kind of cat gut or something like that. But it makes this beautiful little resonance because of the tortoise shell. And then that evolved into the lyre, which was used for healing. And you notice that there are probably 8 or 10 notes here. And do we really know what the notes were that were used back in the Roman and the Grecian times? We have an idea. And there are musicologists that have gone back and studied the relationships of the intervals of these scales and these notes, and surprisingly, they're the same scales that we use today. So there's something that's very inherently sacred and common in the use of music, which has a healing presence. And here we have an angel playing a harp, modern harp. So this is I put this together to demonstrate how the Platonic solids frequencies and the next one, oh, sorry, the next one, which is the Fibonacci series, and then the natural harmonic series are very similar. So we have these uh, parallel scales and parallel uses of frequency, and all of these different types of ways of putting the mathematics and the numbers together. Um, and here we have 440 hertz tuning versus 432 tuning. And one of the things you'll recognize in the 440 is that there's lots of fractions, okay? And the only one that is not a fraction is A, and that's 440. But everything else is a fraction. Well, fractions are kind of a no-no in sacred geometry. It's really look way down at that whole numbers are the way to go. And when you have to start fractionalizing numbers to get a scale, then you're kind of tearing down the inherent beauty and the connection with the cosmos. So here we have pentagrams, and it's funny. Everything that's sacred has been denigrated in some way. They've made the pentagram a symbol for Satanism, and yet look, we have these beautiful pentagrams in okra. We have it in sand dollars. We have it in the fruits and tomatoes and apples. Everywhere you look in nature, we have these beautiful pentagrams. And here we have a diatom. This is diatomaceous earth. Some of you have used this in your food supplements or your swimming pools, or but a diatom is a single cell organism, and you can see that it's a perfect triangle. The tetrahedron, again, it's a four-sided uh, Platonic solid, and it's found here naturally occurring in the fluorite crystal. The hexahedron that's the salt of the earth. That salt is a hexahedron shape. Pyrite has many. It actually has all the different Platonic solid shapes. Here we have the five-sided dodecahedron, and here we have the octahedron. The icosahedron, which is the 20-sided, is the adenovirus. This is COVID right here. And the icosahedron is pyrite. You can see the 20-sided one right there. And this particular chart is what I spent about 3 years creating out of the Platonic solids, trying to figure out all the different frequencies and notes that are related to each one of these. And so by the time I was through, I had the basic chords and the harmonic layout of all the Platonic solids, and I hope to be able to play that for you at the end of this presentation. And this is the way that they all work out, and the type of chord. And if this didn't sound good, if it didn't make any sense sonically and musically, I wouldn't have even fooled around with this. But there's such a resonance with the human energy system that you can't really discard it. So I think that's about it. I'm going to stop here. And also, I'm going to see if I can play again the pieces that I wanted to. So this is the water, which would be the icosahedron. So that's played with the angel harp, and that's one of the ways that I've been able to actually tune perfectly the Platonic solids. So that's the water harp, and that's a B major 9 chord. Now here's the cosmic chord. It's based on the F sharp, which is the hexahedron. And that deep bass tone is the F sharp. And these are chords that are played on the synthesizer. Just another way of bringing out those very cosmic, Platonic, elemental frequencies. So if you pay attention to that, there we have the didgeridoo, that deep bass sound, and what it does to your body, your energy system. It has an immediate effect of aligning. So here again we have the F sharp, and this I've used the monochord and a flute, and F sharp being that 180 or 360 hertz. And this is an F sharp Native American flute, tuned in the 432 hertz standard tuning. Playing with the monochord, which is an F sharp C sharp, which is the salt of the earth, or the earth element. To some of the Native American tribes, they recognized that F sharp was a very sacred frequency and note and scale. Okay. And here we have, I'm not sure what this is. Let's see what this is. This is more of the angel harps. This is D minor. This is the children's tuning, which actually goes beyond the Platonic solids. This is another tuning that was given to us. About 5 of us. It took five people to really bring this tuning in. It's designed for helping with autism and Asperger's, but it's based on the sacred number of 72, which is a D. It's a D minor scale. And we call this the children's tuning. And this next one is one of the things that we've been really working on, the Lotus tuning. And these are Lotus drones, which means this is in B and F sharp. You'll feel that 60 hertz kind of immediate tuning effect. And here we have didgeridoos playing those low notes. The synthesizers filling in the harmonics. That is the end of this presentation. Now, one thing to remember is that there is a full training in the Amplify network that's available to the higher tier membership, and it is sound healing, and it has this plus all the different instruments and how to play them, and it's a kind of a deeper dive into sound healing. But this particular piece right here, the Sacred Geometry, not many sound healers actually include that in their offering, and I think it's really important. I think it's one of the most important things in the way that frequency and vibration is so cosmically related to the sound and the healing effect of sound. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in about 2 weeks. I am planning on doing this about every 2 weeks, and we'll have another segment. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be talking about, but it'll be related to sound and music and sacred geometry. Okay, thank you very much.